First of all, hello everyone, and thank you very much for this opportunity to share the information that I have about Andorra. It's a really tiny but very unique, very particular place, which I really carry in my heart wherever I go. I've been living there for 10 years, and I've set up a small company there, small consulting company, which is called RANKRE Business Services. It's been there for over 9 years by now, and to be honest, when I moved to Andorra 10 years ago, I wasn't thinking of setting up a business and actually making Andorra a business project. So, but that came along as things developed naturally, because there were many requests to follow either residency, allocation, or formation of companies there. So when it was what we did. I will be speaking quite fast because I would like to deliver as much information as possible, but we don't have much time. And I'm inviting all of you, inviting your questions either to chat or to me directly. You have my contacts here. Now, as I said, it's a tiny place where about 81,500 inhabitants in Andorra, and we have roughly we have more than 100 nationalities living in such a tiny place together, and I would say in a quite friendly environment. And this is a country which is official language of the country is Catalan. However, most of the population speak also Spanish and French language. Many people do speak English, although English, of course, is less popular than the other two languages. And of course, a lot of Portuguese. We have a rather large Portuguese diaspora there, so that's one of the spoken languages. Well, the schooling opportunities are provided for all of these languages, including English. So basically in 5 languages, kids can be schooling and picking up an extra language like English if you are in Spanish or French school, or German, or many other options. I will not stop here too much because it's I hope these are quite known facts. I would like to say 2 things before I start my presentation, actually. First thing, I will be biased. I mean, I'm quite in love with the place. I'm quite in love with Andorra. So whatever I will say, I will probably be focused more on benefits rather than on shortfalls, which are there as any country. I mean, I don't believe in any ideal solutions or ideal places or ideal countries, and Andorra is not an exclusion. However, I have tried to be fair enough and to underline benefits and drawbacks so that you grasp a real picture of what the place is and what opportunities it offers. Now, speaking of benefits and drawbacks, now you will see here a number of benefits, like ecology, of course. Most of the country is a natural resource, so you can imagine that we really enjoy every bit of the land. Most of the country is mountains covered by forests, and in most of the places the residences are located in a way that you can have a very short passage to enjoy rather wild nature and really marvelous views. So I really cordially invite anyone to come and see the country if you haven't done so. Safety and security. Well, Andorra is known to boast really about this one because we have a really large number of cameras and police, and in some countries it may be considered like maybe not really something which is not welcome, something which gives a certain discomfort. But no, we are quite comfortable about, because we know, especially compared to our neighbors, we know that it works for us. So we really like it this way, and I think they are really helpful. And through the years, they help us to maintain a safe style of life. We can really leave apartments unlocked, cars unlocked, and of course, better to lock both, but still in 90% of the cases, nothing will happen to you or your property. Healthcare. I mean, of course, with healthcare, it's always very individual and very subjective matter. You know, one may have good experience, one may have bad experience with doctors, but most of us, well, me personally, I had only good experience there for, you know, on a span of 10 years, and for my kids and for my family too. So I would say it's a rather high standard, because I also tried. I mean, I had experience living in other countries, so I know that this is rather high standard what they offer. It's an inclusive social environment indeed. What I mean to say is that on both sides, on the sides of people, population, and the government, usually you have a very, you know, helping, open approach. So people do try to be helpful to newcomers. So very soon you start feeling home, really, because that's what comes naturally. Low taxation, of course, it's one of the benefits, although it has some little drawbacks, which we will speak later. But of course, I mean, one cannot be happy about 10% of corporate tax and 10% of tax on personal income. The next is exactly the drawbacks that I wanted to speak about. There's one little thing. There's one project which has been on the agenda of the government for years by now, and that is the airport. Now, we don't have, Andorra does not have its own airport. There's no way to come there by air. Well, there is one now. There is a small airport in Urgell, which is the frontier line between Andorra and Spain. So it takes like about half an hour to get there, but there's a very limited number of lines at the moment. I think the planes now come and go to Madrid, and they are planning to open London and Dubai. This is what I heard. Madrid and Lisbon at the moment. So there are two directions, two lines for the moment. And well, we hope there will be more. But in Andorra, it has been like promoted and discussed for many years, but it never saw the light. And I'm not sure if this is a benefit or drawback. Most of us living inside the country, we consider it a benefit. Although, of course, I understand that probably for the global tourism, for someone coming from abroad, that's kind of efficiency. So the drawbacks, of course, the country is developing so rapidly now, and we have seen enormous increase in the prices of real estate. So, of course, one buying the property either for investment purposes or for himself must really be cautious and consider all the opportunities present on the market, you know, because indeed, when I came back in time 10 years ago, there was virtually no construction in process. So the country was kind of preserved for like as I said, as a natural resource, and they were really reluctant to start any construction projects. But then, like 5 years ago, all at once, all the construction projects started and burst into a huge variety of skyscrapers and private residences of all sorts. Most of the real estate constructed is in the luxury segment, which of course has its implications for the people inside the country who would like to buy, let's say, standard apartments for their families. So the government is now developing a special program to benefit the residents of the country to buy properties on special conditions. And I think this is boosting the real estate sector even yet more. I'd say here that we have seen 25% increase in the last 3 years, and that's true. I would even, I'm here very prudent. I think it's even more than that. So, but of course, I have a lot of clients who have benefited from such an increase in prices, who have invested. in various properties some time ago, and they had very good upside reselling the properties once it is off for sale. As I said, the official language is Catalan. Why here it's a drawback? Okay, for me as a lawyer, and most of my life I have operated in English or Russian language. And of course, operating in Catalan is different. It's a little bit of complication when you have to translate all the company documents into English, because what I do mostly is cross-border businesses and cross-border operations. And of course, when it comes to that, all the set of documents needs to be translated and apostilled, and it's a bit of complication. At least this is not what we used to working with the standard typical offshore territories operating in English, or Cyprus, which I myself have huge sympathies for. That's of course a bit of complication. But the good thing is, I don't know if I put it under benefits. No, it's not here, but I will mention it. The government does offer free courses for any ages, for adults and for young people, for any ages really, of the 4 levels of proficiency of the language. So from the basic level up to the highest level possible, they offer a high quality courses. The longest course may dure up to 2 years, and it's quite useful for any foreigner coming to live in the country. And that's, as I said, this is free for anyone. You just have to enroll. You don't have to pay anything, and you have proper language schooling for at least for 2 years. Now, drawbacks again. Well, for a business, one must be aware that really, indeed, inside of the country, we lack qualified personnel due to a number of reasons. I cannot stop right now why to explain it. We don't have time for that. But if you intend to bring your business to the country, think of contracting someone from abroad, getting a work permit. It might be better than trying to look for the personnel within the country. Relatively lengthy business registration procedures. Well, this is a little bit, from what I can see, this is a little bit everywhere. I mean, I think we are witnessing, as lawyers and company administrators, we are witnessing some increase, generally some increase in the length of registration procedures all over the world. So I don't think this is just the problem of Andorra. Andorra, on the opposite, is trying to digitalize as many processes as possible. Of course, a lot of changes on the way, which we really have continuous learning in that respect. So they are trying to simplify the procedures, but for the moment, in my opinion, the processes are still rather lengthy. So you need some patience as a reserve to decide to start a company in Andorra. Do not hesitate to write to me. I will explain you all the process, because we're trying to be very, very open with the client. We're trying to give the correct vision, the idea of what is expected. We always give a roadmap. We try to mark all the weeks of waiting expected. But in the end of the process, you get a rather efficient, rather effective vehicle for your business. The banking sector is purely Andorran. Why I bring it as a drawback? Because when you have 3 banks on the market, that does not create sufficient competition. Okay. And not having competition is never good. Give me an example where it may work good for the customer. I don't think anywhere in any sector. So the banking sector, yes, we have here our complications and drawbacks, because they may be lengthy. They may be, of course, we have the very strict compliance procedures as everywhere else. I do not agree that this is purely an Andorran problem. Where, from what I see, it's quite so in any other countries. So still, I put it under drawbacks because yes, the banking sector is there. Yes, we know the way how to cooperate. I mean, how to implement the tasks that the client is posing. But there are they are being quite complicated on the issues. Who are the beneficiaries? Who are the beneficiaries? Now they are, you know, if you are thinking of Andorra, there is no ideal place for me. I mean, I have seen one of the participants asking me, what was the question like? Why Andorra is better than other places? It's not better than other places. It's neither worse. It's different. It's something else. I believe that when we speak about business formation, when we speak about reallocation, immigration, there is no ideal solution. There is no, there is no the best one or the worst. Well, there may be the worst one, but surely not. There is no the best one. So, and it's all very much tailor-made. So please, before taking any decisions, do contact any advisors and consultants and discuss your particular situation, because it could be that Cyprus is the best solution for someone and Andorra is the best solution for someone else and UK for the third one, and etc., etc. So there is no best one. As I said, there are benefits, there are pros and contras. Here, beneficiaries, who are those people who may really benefit from the country? I will say they are creators of all types. No, in the first place, they are IP rights owners, IT specialists, and IT business owners. So they could. So these people, they don't have to stick to one place to carry on with their profession, with what they do. So they usually, I know personally, a lot of those who come to the country and live in the country and enjoy the place and carry on what they have to do, and they but they improve the quality of their life significantly. Okay, that's one category. Owners of business vehicles or assets with passive income. Well, this is a slightly different category of people. Those who have various type of passive, i.e. income, which does not require any personal investment or require any minimal personal investment into the processes. Entrepreneurs, this is the most, this is the most precious yet difficult category. Of course, precious because these are the people who could come to the country and create businesses and create working places and bring new technologies or new ideas and know-how, etc. But this is the most complicated mission. Although, as I said, the most onerous one probably, but the most complicated one, because as it takes a lot more with the to administrate the permissions and the clearance and to explain the business idea behind and to provide for the whole setup, etc., etc. I mean, it's absolutely worth doing, but again, this is not for those who are, say, accustomed to very easy few-minute solutions like offshore companies or maybe setting up a company in a high tax jurisdiction. Like, I mean, you can set up a company in Spain in a few days, really, and have it already and starting the business. But then you must consider your tax consequences, whether you are happy with them. So anyway, entrepreneurs, absolutely welcome. Although, as I said, please have patience and we will draw a roadmap. You will have a look and say whether you're up to going that way or not. Families. Families is a special category, of course, because I absolutely adore working with families. I'm sure they find a lot of benefits for their kids. Why I specify this age category from 0 to 18? Because as as I said, the schools in Andorra, they're really nice. And the preschooling and the way the government policy is really tailor-made for small kids and let's say pre-teenager level kids. But then there is a lack of higher educational institutions. There is a university, the Andorran University, which although it does offer a number of faculties, but in my mind, this is for the moment a limited number of faculties. So most of the parents have to think like, okay, where my kid goes to study, to France, to Spain, to Portugal, to UK, to Switzerland. Of course, because almost by default, every kid schooling in Andorra come out with +3 languages in his head. I mean, his mother tongue, whatever it is, and then +3 languages. Catalan, Spanish, French in most cases, and or English. So at least 3-4 languages plus to his mother tongue, you know. And of course, that opens up doors to the kids significantly. I think you will agree with me. One more thing about schools, maybe giving a good thought to where to allocate your kid, to French system, British system, Spanish system, or Andorran system, because consequently, if your kid was schooling in a French school, and then there is an access to the French higher education system, because we are considered like it were a school in Paris, for instance. We are rated just as a French school. The same with Spanish, well, Andorran obviously is a national system, and the same with British system. So it's like your kid is schooling in one of these countries, you know, so he will be rated amongst kids applying from that country. So I think it's quite a good incentive for families with small kids to come and allocate. Well, the group of beneficiaries, anyone passionate about sports, nature, health, lifestyle. It's true that Andorrans are quite passionate about sports. Anyone coming to the country immediately see the infrastructure of all kinds of sports, of tennis and paddle, and then ski resorts and hiking and golf and whatever else you can imagine as if you are passionate about sports. Open air, first of all, but also we have a lot of fitness clubs for indoors. Well, there are basically few types of residencies, the permits to obtain to come and live in the country, or simply to enjoy the residency. No, there is a so-called residency passive. Why passive? Because you cannot work. It is stated on your residence card, no work allowed. It's not only about work contracts, but it is also about working for yourself. A resident who has obtained a passive type of residency, he can still have his company and make work his company and the personnel and develop his business further, but he must remain just a shareholder of the company if he wants to maintain this type of residency in the country. So no work allowed in neither of ways. Okay, you can have here more or less the roadmap now of the steps to be taken to obtain passive residency permit. The conditions have been recently revised, unfortunately, because we were quite upset that they have increased the minimal contribution to 600,000 euros. But think that all these monies, all these funds are 100% revocable, refundable. I mean, if you decide to cancel your residence from the country, you are entitled to recover all the funds that have been deposited. That's why we say that these funds are parked, deposited, parked, they're not lost. You do not have, you may as well buy the real estate property, you may buy certain financial instruments, but you're not obliged to do it. There's a number of conservative instruments, there's a number of conservative ways to invest these monies so that in, I don't know, 5, 6, 10 years span of time, whenever you decide and your life conditions change, I don't know, maybe your kids grow up and you don't feel anymore like benefiting the utmost from Andorra and you want to go to live in UK, which, I mean, I had quite a few cases with my clients, and they moved, you are entitled to receive a full refund, both for the 50,000 euros which are deposited with AFA, almost 50,000, but also for the 550,000, because 600 are compounds of the two amounts, the 50,000 and the 550,000. So you are entitled to refund both. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I just want a second of your attention. So we've got 5 minutes remaining.
Okay, thank you. Then there is another, I will try to be very brief. There is another type of residency, and that is active residency, and that is obtained through business. So this was my case, for instance. I came to Andorra, I have established a company and applied for residency because I have established a company, and many clients of mine do the same. It's quite a straightforward process. We will guide you through it. Of course, there is no investment required in that case. It's just 47,250 euro of deposit with the financial regulator, which is again refundable whenever you decide to do so. And you can see, okay, in both cases, you can see the renovation of permits here for passive residency and also for active residency. No? You have the scheme here. So basically, after 7 years, you can renovate your permit for another 10 years. So, okay, and then you just, you know, like exhale and enjoy for another 10 years. Business conditions. Okay, as we're short of time, you can go through it yourself. As I said, the general income tax is 10%, and then for IT/IP companies it can be reduced to as low as 2%, and we have the VAT tax, which is only 4.45%. There is no wealth tax at the moment. Okay, I shall not stop here too much because, again, it refers to taxes, and please do ask me your questions about it, because anyway, every case shall be very individual, so it cannot be covered either way. I would like only to mention that the double taxation information exchange agreements, it's always a growing network, as you can see. We will always have more and more countries on the list. So that makes Andorra even a better place to operate as a holding company, as you can imagine. Usually it's just these 3 types of legal entities which are formed. Of course, the limited liability company is the most common one, and then the company limited by shares, and then the branch of foreign company. I think I have seen a question in the chat of what when does it happen that a foreign company becomes a controlled foreign company? Okay, the simple answer to that question is when it happens, well, first, it will start happening next year from January 2024. At the moment, it does not. But for the all holdings who made a warning to prepare for this, if in the holding, one of your entities is located in a zero tax territory, be it Cayman or BVI or anyone else, and you cannot prove that there is a substance there in the form of office or personnel or any other way, then it's highly likely that it will be a controlled foreign company for the Andorran holding, meaning that all the revenues that such company is making may be implied into the revenues of the Andorran company. Again, as I said, be very, must try to be very accurate and cautious. Every case is different than the other, so it has to be studied on a case-by-case basis. But the approach that the tax authority has taken from this year on is this, as I said. So, well, this is the simple end. Then we have to look into a case and see whether there is a CFC or not. Okay, the tax rates for the personal taxation. Again, I shall not stop here. It's flexible. So up to 24,000 euro, it's not taxed. No, it's a minimal income for persons which is not taxed. And then we start and we gradually come to 10%. Very last thing, Andorra is negotiating with EU. It's been negotiating for quite many years now. I think at least 7 years that we witness these negotiations, and the government is always reporting very much in detail what it is about. And why we're so much keen about this topic, because we, of course, we understand all our benefits of being a country in Europe geographically, very close to European countries by its mentality and the culture and the economic ties and everything, but yet being absolutely independent in its fiscal and economic and financial and immigration and social and any other policy. Okay, so of course there is a clash between those willing to remain independent and those willing to benefit from being closer to Europe than what we are now. But we all understand what it takes being closer to Europe. No, it's not just about sharing the benefits. It's also about taking certain responsibilities, which Andorra, as a very small state, has to evaluate very carefully whether we can permit or not. In a nutshell, there must be a referendum on the next year about the association with the EU. I must emphasize that this is not, the becoming of a member of the EU is not under discussion. What is under discussion is association with EU, i.e. Establishing certain economic and trade ties, which will allow to become part of EU trading agreements and transport agreements and all other sorts of economic covenants which may benefit Andorra, of course. I mean, as tiny as we are, it's difficult to speak about benefits for the EU, but still. This is, but on the other hand, of course, it is quite promising. I mean, I don't know what the outcome will be, but we will see it for probably the next year. But it sounds quite promising, and I think it will add some more positivity to the country.